Please confirm if you can see my screen clearly now.
Yes, I can
Is
see
it
your
better
screen.
now?
Yeah,
All right.
very.
Okay, welcome to the day 6 of our boot camp, where we are gradually rounding up this boot camp. And I would like to say thank you for always keeping attendance for everyone that is on this call, and probably other people that took excuses for not being available today. So yesterday, we were able to cover test plan creation. We also considered functional requirement or product requirements review. Then I think I showed you briefly about a template for test case creation. We also went through test documentations like traceability, matrix, test plan, test case, and bug reports. I just gave a definition, like an introduction to what all those terminologies means. So today we'll continue with test case creation. So I would like to reiterate what test case means. So test case is a document that contains a set of steps and conditions that determines whether a software application functions as expected. So you can see this is a sample of a test case. I gave you an assignment yesterday, so I'll just be using one of the solution that was submitted as an example. So we'll review that and make a correction. For those that have not completed the assignment, they can go ahead and review their solutions. And for those that submitted, they can still go ahead and edit and resubmit. The new deadline for submission is now Friday. So that link that was shared will be updated today. An assignment on bug reporting will be given as well. So I'll just go ahead and update that submission link that was shared earlier. So here is the solution. Let me go to the URL. I don't know, did anyone try to check the orange HRM URL? Was anybody able to check? I know I dropped it later on the WhatsApp group.
Yes, I was.
So, okay, for those that were not able to access it, so it's part of one of the good qualities of a QA. So sometimes the URL might not be ready yet. So before the commencement of testing, maybe you are working in a consulting firm and you are awarded a contract. A contract was awarded to your company. So there are times that they will just send a PRD or FRD for you to start creating test cases. So in this situation, if you are not able to access the URL, I didn't share the URL with you. With that PRD, you should be able to come up with test cases for user authentication. So another thing is you can incorporate the use of AI. So you can use AI, drop some prompts for you to write some test cases for you in order to make your work more efficient. So let's try to review this particular submission. Okay. So before I review that, so you can see a sample of a test case. The first thing is test case ID, test title, test summary, test steps, test data, expected result, post condition, actual result, status. So it all depends on the type of template you are using at your organization, or you could also propose a template for the organization if the organization is a startup and they are just trying to build their QA team. So let me go ahead to submission of DAY6. I think I opened it. Okay. Okay, so here is a test plan. So let's review together. So this is a nice try. Yes. Thumbs up to DAY6 for submitting this. So let's check his test case for user authentication. So this is a nice template. Yes, it's a nice template. It's beautiful. So another thing that we make use of as testers is at times if it's a new startup, you could use the color code of the company to create the headers, or you can just use anything that will make your test case appealing to any user. So okay. So the first scenario is user authentication. Verify user can input valid email and password. Okay, so I can see a missing scenario here, a missing test case. Sorry, not a missing scenario, a missing test case. So verify user can input valid email and password. So before you get to this stage, you must have access a test URL. So you have to create that test case that verify that the test URL, this URL, you verify that it is accessible. So that should be the first test case. Because if a novice is presented with this test case now, they don't know what is just here is just that they should input valid credentials. They don't know the URL to access in order to input the valid credentials. So you can update that. Adedayo, you can update that. So verify user can okay, there's something missing. Another thing is okay. Hello. Is that Abdul?
Yeah, so
All
I think
right.
this is Adeshola because
Oh,
I'm
sorry,
seeing.
it's Adeshola. This is Adeshola. Oh. Okay. This is Adeshola's own. Adeshola. Is it the same Adeshola on the call or another
Yes,
Adeshola?
please.
Because
Yes, please.
this is a different name. This is a different surname.
It's the same surname. It's just
It's
that
the
it's
same
three. I
surname.
make it two. Adeshola Shikrot Shukweju. I just put
Oh, okay,
Adeshola
okay, okay.
Shukweju here.
Okay, all right. Okay. So
Thank you.
verified. And another thing, okay, you have to make sure that there are no typos in your test cases. So after creating the test case, you have to read over the test case before you send to your QA manager or your test lead. And if you happen to be the only most experienced QA in that team, you know that you'll be reviewing for others. So you have to make your test case to be on point. Check through if there are no typographical error. So verify user can input is missing here. Let me see, I don't think I have edit right. Okay, verify user can input invalid username and valid username. Okay, log in with invalid username log in with invalid username. So you can make this into steps like 1, login with username, 2, login with password, or you put login with invalid username and valid password. Verify user can input valid username and invalid password. Okay. blank username and valid. All right. Verify user can input with leading trailing spaces. Can input password with okay. Verify user can input case sensitive variation of username. Verify user cannot input uh multiple invalid login attempts. Okay, it's a nice try. Okay, I can see you putting as expected here. So you can also put as expected here is also acceptable. All right, this is a nice template. So let me try to use AI. So you can also use AI. You can say create please create test cases with positive scenarios, negative scenarios, boundary value um scenario what
Edge
other
case.
thing? Positive, negative. Okay, edge cases. Edge cases for user authentication. So if you actually put orange HRM here, this is a free this is a free this is an open source URL, so it will definitely generate it. But if you are in an organization, you could just put for an application. Then you could also specify the number of the fields, the headers that you want it to you want it to create. So headers headers should include uh um test case ID, test case title, test case description. If you want to write prerequisites, actual results, expected result, uh, and status. So I want you to take notes that whenever you are doing this, you should always take caution. So this is AI. I know AI has come to make our lives easy, but while writing prompts, you should ensure that you don't share secret key for your organization or password for production URL on ChatGPT, because the way it is, it can be exposed to some other people, because it uses algorithm to generate responses. So all things like that, all those sensitive data should not be passed on AI. Okay, so it's going to generate it now. Okay, you can see that it has generated it. So you can incorporate this into your template, or you could also get it to generate an Excel format. So you should be able to submit your assignment in no time, because you can actually use AI to make your work faster. So you should be able to submit before Friday with what I've just explained. So then you can download this, and it's either you work this into your template, or you copy right from here and copy into your existing template, and voila, you are done with your test cases. Then you can start executing this actual result. You start executing your test cases and start testing to see if this expected and actual results match. If there's a variance, of course, you know that you're going to populate the column for defect ID, and you create a bug report for that. So I think we are done with test cases. I don't know if you have any question regarding test cases. You have any question?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. So what about the field for maybe evidences, like when you want to showcase where the probably there is an error and you were able to catch the bug. So then maybe the developer is asking you for what's the evidence.
Okay. Thank you for that question. So for evidence, you are to put your evidences or screenshots for screen recording of the bug in a bug report. So today, I'll be taking you through how to generate a bug report. So it's in bug reports that you put that information. However, on test case, you can create a column for defect ID, just for you to match every test case that has failed with a defect ID. Say you are logging the defect on Jira. So there's an ID. You just want to have a good record of all the defects that was open, like, and the reason why a particular test case has failed. So if anyone is going to, if a new QA, probably maybe you're on leave, and a new QA is taking over. So the QA will be able to track each defect ID that has each test cases that has failed alongside with the defect ID. So it's on bug reports that you document your evidences. So we'll still get there.
Yes, I have a
All right,
question.
Chinozo. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
good evening, ma. Thank you
Good
for
evening.
explaining the test cases, right? Now, my question now is based, just want to add to what my colleague just mentioned now and your explanation. Now, I have further
Okay.
question. For organizations that don't make use of bug reporting tools like Jira, they just use normal Excel. How do you advise
Yeah.
we track these bugs and send to developers? How do we track them?
Okay, so it's fine. It depends on the finances of the organization. So so if there are bugs that you have raised on an Excel sheet, so what I would advise is, I believe you should have like a team space for your team, or you have an email, let's say email for the QA team, that all the QA team has been added, and there should also be a team for the dev. So it all depends. Let's say you are using email, so you have to attach that defect log and send it. Put everybody in copy if it's email that you are using as a means of communication. So I will not advise you to start sending privately to the developer, because the developer can come around and deny ever that you've sent him any of the bug. So it's always
Okay.
advisable, if it is Slack that you are using, yes, you tag, you attach the defect link. It can be a link, a Google link. You are I mean a Google Sheet link. You attach it and you tag whoever. Is it your Scrum Master or your program manager, product manager? You put them CC, you put them in copy so that they can see that we have about 4 bugs. This is the bugs I have raised on this work. I have completed my work. I am awaiting defect fixes from developer A. So that's the way it is. If you don't have Jira to it, fine. You can manage your defect bug reports using Excel.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome. Mary, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, to just quickly add inputs to what you just said now, I think maybe if one can create like a group on the Teams channel, if the organization is using, the team is using like a team, and you can just create like a group there where both the QA and the developers can, can be included. So if there's any defect at any point in time, you can quickly call the attention of the developer inside that same group so that he can be aware. I think it's very easy. And my question is the test cases that the ChatGPT generated is inclusive of the both positive, negative scenario. Is it advisable that we put all together or we group them in different folders? Maybe structure in different folders. Okay, these are the positive test cases and these are the negative test cases. Or we can just put them together without having to categorize them.
Okay, so I'll just say you put them together. However, it all depends on your choice. You can create another column and group positive scenarios, negative scenarios, edge cases, boundary value. It all depends on you. But for me, I used to put them together. Except it's only when I'm doing API testing that I put them into subgroups.
Okay. Okay.
So it will still be inside the same
Sorry.
sheet because some. All right, go ahead.
I just wanted to say something, but I don't know if it is actually really like right with what is being said. But I just feel like at the end
Okay.
of you could just like put, okay, the total number of those test cases that you've done, and then highlight that, okay, this is the total number of the positive ones, this is the total number of the negative ones. So they will be able to, track the numbers and just, this is the number of the test cases, these are the ones that are wrong or positives or something like that. I don't know.
It's fine. It all depends on you. You are in charge. So you are in charge, provided you are the one bringing in the process. It's a startup or you have been employed to maybe revive the team, the QA team. Yes, you can go ahead, but in a place where they already have their standard, it's not actually bad for you to recommend to the QA team lead, but you can just it's all your choice, and by your discretion you can just go ahead. What is most important is you are able to have 100% test coverage and all scenarios are properly tested and the application works optimally. So that's the most crucial thing.
Okay. Thank you.
Adeshola?
Yes, I have a question. Under the test case, I saw precondition and prerequisite. Do they serve the same
Okay.
purpose?
Precondition and prerequisite. Oh, it's the same thing. It's the same thing.
No, post-condition and prerequisite.
Okay. Precondition and prerequisite is the same thing. Post-condition, prerequisite, and precondition, they are the same thing. Precondition and prerequisite. Let me cite an example. So, for instance, the test cases that you wrote. So, I said you didn't cover like the URL is accessible. So it's still acceptable if you had created a prerequisite colon and you have written there that user was able to successfully log in the test URL dash 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 and dash. So that has covered for the scenario of confirming the test URL is accessible. So the importance of prerequisite is it's like shortens your test cases. It doesn't make your test cases unnecessarily long. So you just write prerequisites, then you go straight to the steps. Then for post condition is similar to expected results.
Okay.
So what happens after you have done you have gone through the correct steps? So what's the expected condition? What's the post condition? So
All right.
it's similar.
Yeah, and the last one is that positive and negative scenario. Can we get the
Yes.
value through the status, whether it pass or fail? Does it work with it?
I didn't get your question.
I'm trying to get the understanding of the positive and negative scenario when writing test cases. Is it having a
Okay.
reflection on the status at the end of everything? Is that going to be pass or fail? Is the positive and negative scenario is a reflection of the status, whether it's going to pass or fail?
Okay. So I would like to say the purpose of positive and negative scenario is for you to test what was specified. Yes, this system is expected to behave this way. For instance, I'm supposed to log in with valid username and password. So that was what was stated in the requirement. So as a QA, I'm thinking outside the box. What if I make the fields blank?
Okay.
Am I going to be prompted to enter a valid username or password? So the expected result should be you should get a validation message that please enter valid username or password. So for your positive scenarios and your negative scenarios, you get to write the status. You get to document the status, either pass or fail. So in a situation where you enter a blank blank username and blank password and you click on submit button and the application crashes or returns 503, so that means the status of that test case is failed, because normally you are expecting it to give you a validation message to point you to the right direction, but however the application is crashing.
Okay.
So for each of the positive and negative, you get to input the statuses.
All right. Thank you very much. Like,
You're welcome. So
Sorry, ma.
Adeshola, it should be the old hand. Okay. Chinozu.
I still have one more question. Now, the
Okay.
questions are just coming from the explanation. Sorry to take your time. Now, from what
Okay.
you just explained we're using this login test case now
Okay.
as an example, citing login test. Now we have the positive and negative, everything together inside one sheet, right? That's our test case for login authentication. Are we saying, or
Yes.
are we going to classify that, okay, this is a test suite? I don't know what's the difference. Probably, I don't know if there's a difference between this test case now for login authentication and the test suite. Now, everything now is inside one sheet, both negative, positive. Probably, maybe I'm having that confusion. Maybe you can explain for that difference between the test suite and what we're just explaining now.
Okay. So for test suite, what makes up a test suite is a combination of different test scenarios and different test cases for different modules of the application. You can see after user authentication, you can get to test reporting. If the application has a transaction module, you can still write test cases for transaction. So we can say we have a test suite for Orange HRM application. Then if you can also separate it and say for user authentication alone, when you have different scenarios and different test cases documented, you can say that is the test suite for user authentication for this particular Orange HRM application. So what makes up the test suite is series of test scenarios that you have created. That's what makes up the test suite.
Okay, not necessarily a particular like for login now. You can have a test suite that can combine both login and some other scenarios together in one. That to form a test suite. I don't know if I'm mixing it up.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you can.
Sorry,
You
ma.
can.
Thank you.
All right.
I
Sorry,
think
ma.
maybe to add to that, I'm thinking for that we can have different modules. We have authentication, and that is what we are testing now. So that can be inside a suite or a folder. Then we can have another thing that we are testing again. So that can be in another different suite or folder, depending on the structure, how you want to place them.
Thank you
Okay,
for the
yes, that is actually fine. Let me try
Sorry.
to also add. That you could have a test suite for sanity testing. You could have a test suite for smoke testing. You could have a test suite for end-to-end. You could have a test suite for, so it all depends on you. You can add, for instance, let's say for your sanity is just when you when the application is just deployed and you want to confirm if the application is quite stable enough to be deployed. So you can have a set of test suites to confirm that. So some people might just classify only positive test cases to run end to end. The basic things that users do on the application. So it all depends. So you can do it by modules, or so you can classify each in different compartments. So it's all depend on your choices on how you want to classify those tests and the particular purpose that you use the test for. So someone is raising their hand. We need to end this session soon so that we can move ahead.
I just wanted
Madishola,
to
you are
say
raising your hand.
I think I understand from this now. It's just that I think the moment you prompt ChatGPT to just like give you a positive and negative test cases and the likes, I think that's where we are kind of like mixing it up, kind of. Because I felt like, okay, if I'm writing a test cases for user authentication, I will still have to put those test cases that, okay, if it is valid username, valid password, that means, okay, those are positive test cases that are expected to give me a success status. Now, in case of,
Yeah.
okay, valid username, invalid password, that is a negative test cases that I am putting there, and it is expected that, okay, the result should fail. So in the case that, okay, it's now passed, then I have to report that, okay, this is not supposed to pass, but then this is supposed to be a failed status, but then it passed. That then they should will just report it. So I feel like this thing is just kind of like confused, and it's not like there's a you still have to include positive and negative testing if you are writing your test cases. Like, okay, if I should try this, will it go? That means negative. If I should try the correct way, okay, is it as expected? So I think that's just it. I don't know.
Yeah,
That's how I
Okay.
kind of like
I
I
understand.
think
think you've actually answered that since you said, is it
okay.
as expected? And if it
Yeah.
is as expected, that means it is passed.
Exactly. So the fact that you are saying you are prompting a chat GPT to give you those positive and negative test cases doesn't mean that, okay, you are not necessarily going to put those test cases in your, like, you are not just doing only for positive test cases, I believe. You want to test test for the negative ones also. Like, okay, if I should try the wrong ones, is it working the way it is actually supposed not to? So you get, you are trying something and it is not supposed to work that way, and then it did work. That means you have to check them and just report it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe can I just come
Perfectly
in?
said. All right. Go ahead.
Okay, if you are, in my own understanding, if you are testing for, of course, you test for positive and you want to test for the other way, which is the negative. For example, verify login fails with incorrect password. That is negative testing. And you are expecting that, okay, once I put an incorrect password, there should be error message that is displayed. It is expected that I should expect an error message. So once you put an incorrect password and you have an error message, that is what you are expecting. So that means the test case pass. But once you now put an incorrect password and it accepted it without giving an error message, that means the test case failed because it is not what you
So
are
we don't want
expecting.
the positive ones alone. As a QA, I think it is much of you testing even the negative ones more, because you know that okay, you are just like going through all those edge cases that you feel like if they should put it this way, will it work or not? Will it? So that I think that's just how me I understand it actually. I don't know.
Okay.
All right. I think you should get it right. If we say negative scenarios, it's not that we are expecting failed status. So I think you need to like clear that part out. So like is it Adeshola that just spoke? So when you put an invalid username, and your expectation is when you put invalid username, you should not be able to log in. If you are not able to log in, then that test case has passed. However, if you are able to log in, that means it failed. It's not as if every negative test case will always fail. So I don't know if you get what I just try to reiterate now.
Okay, so those negative test cases that we are testing, the moment we are testing for negative, be they should kind of like give that result that okay, it's failed and not
Yes.
like it's passed. Okay.
Okay, you are the one that will specify your expectation as a QA. Yes, if I enter blank password, I shouldn't be able to log in. So it's very important. This is one of the main objective of uh, getting a QA to test an application. So we are like gatekeepers. Before we deploy that application there, and they want a QA to be able to test, like try to break the application, try as much as possible to introduce every negative things and see if this application will still perform as expected. Because if you fail to do that, most times when you deploy application to production, all the end users, they will try to break the app and introduce so exposure of different form to the application. So if you don't test right, there are hackers out there that will try to break the app for you. So that's why it's very crucial that as a QA, you make sure that you create every positive scenarios, every possible scenario to ensure that the application is still optimal. So that's just the importance of testing all negative scenario. So Biola, I don't know, are you on the call? Is Biola on the call?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so she will be taking us through different life cycle, but before she comes on board, I would like to show you the difference between test plan and test cases. So just note this. Test plan outlines the overall testing approach, where test case provides step-to-step instruction for executing the test cases. So these are interview questions. So just take note of this. You can be asked this in your next interview as a QA engineer. So another thing is steps to create a test case. First one is you develop a test case description, you incorporate essential test data, you execute the test step, and you verify and record the result. Then you integrate preconditions and expected preconditions and post conditions. This like prerequisites and expected result. So I hope to receive your assignment by Friday. The submission has been extended to Friday. There will still be a new uh, assessments that will be added to the test plan and the test case, which is bug report. So just stay tuned to the end of this class. I'll be bringing Abiola on board. She's one of our mentors. She'll be taking us bug life cycle and defect life cycle this evening. Can you just show reactions and welcome her as she takes the floor? All right, thank you for that.
Adenike, good evening. Good evening, everybody. Well
Good
done,
evening.
Adenike. More
Thank
power to your
you.
elbow. Well done.
All
So,
right,
good
thank you.
evening. Nikki, are you sharing screen for me? Are you helping me share the screen?
Do you want me to share for you or you want to share from your end?
Ah, anyone is
Which one
fine.
is
You can just help me share
okay?
so I don't have a
All
network
right,
issues.
okay. So
Yes.
just
So,
notify me to move to the next screen whenever you're
all
done with
right.
this screen.
All right. Thanks. Okay. So, good evening, everybody. I love the energy. I can see the participation. And in the end, I hope we all get something meaningful out of this training. So today we'll be talking about bug development life cycle. Some call it bug. I know the developer call it bug, and that's why you hear it called debugging. So to read the keywords, we call it defects. And what is defects? So I want everybody to know that the reason why we actually testing, one of the primary reason, one of the most important reason is because we want to find defects as little as it may. Even a typo, it's a bug. It now depends on how we want to categorize the bug, whether it's um, whether it's a low priority bug or low severity. So as little as a typo, for instance, you are working on a street or you are going out on you are moving on third mainland bridge, you see a signage and you see a typo there, it's a defect, it's a bug. So those are parts of the qualities of which is our ability to identify flaws in applications, in articles. These are things that we check out for. So, and that is why when we testers, when we are writing our system test summary reports, we need to be very careful. It pains me sometimes when I see weak quality assurance experts writing test reports and we're still having typo error in there. But where is the quality that we said we have? So, and speaking of this, what does a software bug means? It's a flaw, it's an error or a fault in a computer program or system that causes it to produce an incorrect or unexpected results. It may also makes it to behave in an unintended way. Now, like I mentioned, to every organization, the reason why we are being employed as quality assurance experts is because they want the application to be tested as little as it may. They want it tested as small as the application could be. Even if it's a small feature, the application must be tested. And when we say we want to identify defects, defect is a flaw, any flaw, like a stain or something. Because by the time you release an application that has defects to end users, to customers, to every organization, we have internal and external applications. What are the internal applications? They're the ones that we even as the staff of the organization uses for our daily activity. For instance, let's say in our organization, our HR, they ask us to onboard ourselves on a particular application. Before this application is even released out to staff to start using, it has to be tested. And those are why we call those kind of applications internal applications. The one that goes out to our customers are the ones that we call external application. So we can't say because it's internal, we will not test it. It's still human being that will use it. It's still us. It's still our superiors, our juniors, everybody in the organization will use the application. So it is pertinent for the application to be tested. Internal, external application. So effective defect reporting ensures the issues are clearly communicated, reproducible, and easy for developers to resolve. You see, there's a rift that normally happens between testers and developers in an organization. And it's not even only developers. So there are some teams across organization whereby the team leads are also developers. So because, QA, we are coming from the perspective of we want to find the defects as minimal as possible. And we want to be able to, and part of the characteristics of a good defect is it must be clear enough for the developers to understand. And even if it's not even a developer, maybe a naive user, somebody is coming, like maybe your cousin, your friend, or anybody just come and say, I found this defect on an application. How is it a defect? You must be able to explain it as simple as it's made. So these are defect characteristics, and we must be able to produce the steps in which this defect was found. There are some applications that are so complex that the bug you will see is even beyond the login authentication that is being discussed since morning. By the time you start working as a quality assurance expert, you start getting exposed to bigger applications. So organization like banks has a very robust application. So when I was hearing the conversation about positive, negative, oh my God, arrangement of test cases, trust me, test cases is even beyond that. Because there are some applications you have to write test cases as much as 500, 1,000 test cases on just one application. In fact, at a point, you get tired because the modules, the features on the application are so big, and you have to be able to test everything. As you're carrying out the positive test, you have to be able to carry out the negative test on it. So what bank does, because bank uses a waterfall model, they bring in a finished product to you to test. They don't do agile, they don't cut it small and give it to you to test. They bring it as a whole, a portal that might have about 20 modules. Then they give it to you to test everything. So that's when this test case discussion comes in. How will you arrange? You pick a module, for each of the module, you write the positive and negative scenarios in there. Ensure they are properly captured. And as you are doing that, as you are executing the test cases, you are also finding defects. Now, you find your defects, you get a screenshot of the defects, you document it for clear understanding by the developer that would fix the defects. And as this defect is found, it is expected that a QA, you assign it to the developers immediately for them to start fixing. We'll still get to that. So bug reporting technique, always search for existing issues to avoid duplicate reports. Because we're at QAs, we don't want developers to feel like this is a knowledge gap. My years of experience, I've seen a lot why when developers will come back to a QA and say it's knowledge gap. So that's why you as a QA, you have to be firm enough to be able to say, okay, this is the defect I found and it is unique to this feature. It's not like I found it, I'm now creating another one that looks like it. So we must be able to find a defect. Our defect must be unique and we don't want to duplicate. If unsure whether something is a bug, consult the developer for clarification. I used to tell my colleagues, you see this QA work, oh my, it is, and that's why the four principles of testing is context dependent. But this testing thing, it's so funny that we can't just wake up today and say you want to start testing what you don't know. Besides, you have to have a business requirement document that will guide your test. And what do I mean by this? Some developer build without even the documents. They build based on the discussion that is being had with them and with the business analyst or the product owner. So in banks, they call them business analysts. They're the ones that analyze all the requirements. In fintechs, they call them product owners. So sometimes even they might not capture all what is required in the requirement documents for the developer to work on. So by venture, you start testing and you don't understand something is not clear. You see it as a defect because sometimes they will say we pick something as a defect, but they are not actually defects. So instead of that, we go back to our dev. You can have a talk with your developer to say, okay, this is what I found, and I'm seeing it as a defect. If the developer says no, according to the document that was provided or according to the section we had with the business owners, this is the way they said they wanted it. And these are action items that you need to document and go back to the owner, the original owner of that application, to request for clarity for them. Testers, we don't assume. By the time we discuss with the dev, we don't have a clear answer to it. We discuss with the business analyst or the product owner, you don't have a clear. Then the next is to engage the product owners. So clarification is very important. Then you should be consistent in the way you report issues across projects. Yes. So to each organization, there's a template for logging defects. Okay, please go to the next slide. There's a template for logging defects. So it is advisable to work strictly with the bug and defect reporting template that is being adopted in that organization. If they say this is the way they assign defects, work strictly with it. For banks, yes, banks also use Jira to assign defects to the developer. But there are some applications that is being run by banks that they are not built in-house. And you know how Jira works, it's enterprise, and they have to buy license they have to pay for subscription for all the users that will be using it. So for instance, you have an application that was run by a vendor, say the X bank wants to integrate with OP. The developer in OP, they are working on the application. The developer in the X bank, they are working on an application. They don't onboard vendors. The bank will not want to onboard vendors on their Jira. So there's a way you have to communicate the defect across to them, which is by email, and you have to track them. Somebody mentioned that we create a Teams like a group chat where communication is done. That is fine, but we still need to work with a template, especially because we have majority of internal applications than the ones that are being done by vendors. So moving on, bug defects techniques. Write clearly and professionally. Ensure your report cannot be misinterpreted. You have to be clear enough and don't let developers misinterpret your um, defects. Provide facts, no opinion or complaints. As a QA, we don't complain. We make, in fact, I used to say it's QAs, we need to be friendly. It's not so easy. A developer builds, it's just like building a house. You finish building a house, then somebody comes to say, the way you build this house is not nice. Or you sew a clothes from a tailor. Then you get back to the tailor, he said, no way, this is not what I requested for. You have to lose everything and start it all over again. Or you make your hair. After they finish making the hair, you start complaining that they should lose it. Hmm, it's not so easy, but we need to have a way of communicating it across to them. And when we are communicating, we have our facts to back it up. Okay, this is my experience, and I need you to look at it. So we need to have a way of communicating it across. Avoid vague statements. Lack of clarity leads to delay and request for more information. So vague statements, we should avoid it, and we should be clear enough. Like I keep mentioning, to every defect, we must be clear enough. We must, even we as a QA, we must be able to know how to explain it to the developers, the business analysts, even the product business owners. We need to be able to know how to, because sometimes, there's always an argument, or a misunderstanding between the developer and the QA. Then the QA will be, the developer will be like, no, this is not a defect, this is not a defect. But you know it's a defect. And if the person says, I'm not going to fix it, there's no problem. Just send an email across to the owners of the solution to say, okay, this particular features, this I tested it, this is the way it worked, but user experience um, part, like you don't think this will satisfy your need, so you need their reaction to it. So there's a way of communicating this across to the business owner for them to understand and step in. So one bug per ticket, yeah, report only one issue per ticket to avoid confusion. So on Jira, for example, or Spiral, or any other bug reporting tool, depending on the one your organization uses, you pick one bug per ticket. In the description field for the bug, you explain in detail what the user journey was, what your experience was when you were testing. Then you multiple issues in a single report make it harder to confirm, reproduce, and fix. Yeah, so it's not so nice to lump defects together. Let's make it simple, precise, and understandable and readable to the developers, because it helps them when they want to fix the issue. So reference related issues separately if they are connected. So for instance, you're testing an application, say user module. As an admin, you want to be able to add user, delete user, blah, blah, blah. You want to be able to upload user record. So then there's another module that says, let's say, um, payments, or say sanctions, maybe like a natural module, whereby you have a natural application where you have different modules. So when you are writing your defects, when you are logging the defects, you want to log a defect on user module. You now want to join the one on sanctions or exits. You want to join it together. It won't be so nice. It will confuse the dev. So because I think the way they write their code, so they write it in sections. So this is user module here, so that when they want to fix this, you go into user the code, the section for user module code. You go in there, all the issues you log on user module, you as in they fix it together. They go into the next module to fix. So now you are lumping your defect together from different modules. So let's reference related issues separately, and if they are not connected. So, Nike, please move to the next slide. Hello, Nike. So, ensuring reproducibility. So, reproduce the bug at least 3 times before reporting. Mm. Sometimes when we are testing, because you want to quickly find defects and send it out to the developer, we need to calm down and take our time. We need to like take your time to reconfirm that this is actually a defect. We have to adopt different process, or different different process flow for you to confirm that this is actually the defect. So we need to reproduce it at least twice or thrice, max tries, before you can now say, this is actually a defect. So for instance, now maybe they say you want to log in, or maybe you want to launch a URL. You want to launch that URL. When you are launching a URL, you must be able to launch it on different browsers across. So maybe when they just give you the URL, use your Microsoft Edge, it's not launchable. You quickly log it. You don't know that maybe if you launch it on Safari or Chrome or Mozilla, it's working. So it's not working on Edge is an issue, but you don't go aboard to say the URL is not launchable, because when you can't launch a URL, it's a showstopper and it's critical. Because if you cannot launch a URL, now will you test? So we should be able to reproduce our bugs before we go ahead to report them. Then clearly document the minimum step required to trigger the issue. So we must be able to know how to explain the test steps properly. The clear documentation of how you arrived at the issue. It's important. If the bug does not always occur, indicate its frequency. Yeah. So there are some issues. You saw it the first time. You tested again. You did not see it again. Maybe randomly just came back to it. It happened again. Inconsistency. So we have to be able to know how to communicate it across. And that is we communicating it to the developer to say, please, this particular feature, it's inconsistent. Because when I tried the first time, this was the experience. When I tried it second time, this was the experience. And the way you communicate it across matters. So the developer will calm down to say, okay, let me take a look at it. Because at the end of the day, they too are also working towards delivering a quality software. So I know a lot of developers that say, okay, I like my work criticized. I like the tester to check it, because by the time this solution is deployed to production, they can rest, you can relax. Not that you are scared that I'm not sure of what these tests are tested, or maybe everything will be fine after this application is being deployed. So review before submitting. Read your report carefully before submitting. It's not like, okay, sometimes when we write a number of defects, we write them, we now say, okay, you won't check it again. Or maybe you thought you wrote 10 defects. At the end of the day, some have even been fixed. It's not like they were fixed. Maybe the developer was still even working on the solution, because sometimes some developers too, they see defect themselves. So by the time you didn't bother to review it, you didn't bother to check it again to see that, oh, this issue still persists. You just went ahead to send it. And as QAs, we want to come out and say, okay, these my defects are valid. And no matter how much you review it and go back to it, it's still a defect. So remove unnecessary words and check grammar or spelling. I mentioned this at the beginning. You see, I see QAs. I've seen a lot of QAs that don't bother about spellings. And I used to say it when I have meetings with my colleague that spelling matters. Because when somebody come and say, see what a QA tested. Because even me, I counter what B is, right? When I see a document from business analyst or PMs, and I'm seeing text that I don't even understand. No, I see a UAT script, and I'll be like, why? Why will you write this kind of things? Besides, ChatGPT has even made life easier. You can document something and go back to tell ChatGPT to review it for you and help you make corrections, grammatical errors, and everything will come out fine. So please, let's check our grammars, our spellings. Let's ensure the report is clear, concise, and unambiguous. Okay, please proceed. So, defect severity and priority. So many interviews, they ask these questions. They ask us what we understand by a bug, because they just want to be sure that the way we are saying, yeah, I'm a bug finder, I'm a defect finder, what is a bug? So it's always good to know all these things. As little as it may be, our QAs, we should be able to give definition to some of the testing terminologies. So defect severity and priority. So when they say something is severe, how bad is it? Is severe, is mild. So this thing they carry it enter our testing, that's defect severity and priority. Priority now. So just the dictionary meaning of defect of severity and priority. Priority is the way you want to table something, the way you want to get it done. This should come for this should come last. Then severity, how bad is it? Also, priority indicates how quickly the first should be fixed from a business or customer perspective. Imagine, there's a defect you are testing, and they said users cannot even log into the application at all, or maybe the application is even on production, like customers are already using it, they're already making money from it. Then they say users cannot log in. That's critical, and there's nowhere you want to say it's that's top priority. That's even it's not even priority one, priority zero, because everybody needs to be on top of their game and step in to find resolution to that issue immediately. So even a minor issue can be given a priority if it impacts user or company's reputation. You see, if customers cannot log into an application, that's why you see different comments on Twitter. You start seeing that organization trending, that people cannot make transfer, or people cannot even log into the app. The app has been rolling. So these are priority defects. A wrong company logo on the home page doesn't stop the system from working, but may hurt branding. That's high priority. This is determined by the business or product owner. So, some mistakes happen that probably the logo might be there before, but for some reasons it's taken off. Probably the code was mistakenly touched and that logo part was yanked off or commented out or something. So depending on what your own organization categorizes as something that will spoil the reputation of the brand. So the company logo not there might be an high priority to an organization. Some organization might not be a big deal to them. So it depends. So priority levels, we have high priority, major, minor, trivial. So high is that you must be able to log in no matter what happens. And when your application, probably maybe your application is idle, no matter how you see it, that especially our financial applications, they must go hide. They must log out when you are hiding. Because if they don't log out when the user is hiding, a fraudulent person can come and perpetrate transactions on your device and you will not know. So medium should be fixed soon. Um, should be fixed soon. So it's also important, but not critical. Low can be fixed later. All these what's it called? Your application is working as expected, right? But you need some errors to be properly handled. You need the errors to be properly handled. For instance, an error message was not correctly written. The conversation you were having before I stepped in was about you want to log in, you're getting correct username and password. These are the things that we testers do as well. We fine-tune error messages. If you feel like an error is wrong, maybe you see, you are filling a form online or something, then you see age, you are expecting to see that maybe the application should only permit users within the age of 10 and 12. Then you saw that you are trying to use that application, someone not between that age range comes in to use or maybe do something and maybe on board. Then you see message like age is not 13. You as a QA, you can come in and say you don't the way this message was framed is not so nice enough for users to be seen. You can say, okay, age must be between the range of so just to advise the users better for good customer experience. The customers are actually the ones paying employees salary, because if customers does not come in, how will the company survive? So these are the things that we need to put to check as a tester. So it's not because I want to check maybe something is working as expected. No, I want to even check, was this thing properly, was this text properly written? Okay, an error message is displayed. Was this error message properly written? Does it advise the user correctly? Or maybe some that don't even care, they won't even put any error message. So for instance, now you consummated a transaction, you click on submit, the system will tell you payment process successfully, or maybe transaction successful. You are not seeing that kind of message. These are the things we throw out to devs to say, okay, this message is required for a good customer experience. So trivia is nice to have. There are lots of things that are nice to have anyway. And probably we testers will raise them. Then you hear a business person or maybe a developer saying they are nice to have, but we'll consider it. So that's typically it. Now diving into severity, it describes the extent of damage the defect causes to the software functionality. It's just like say when they say somebody is sick, you now ask what's the as in how bad, what's the extent? You now say it's severe. Once you hear severe, you know things are going in the wrong way. So just in software context, extent of damage the defect causes is software functionality. So the technical measure that shows how defects affect the system performance, stability, or usability. So, severity, it's critical to every organization. Once an application has a bug severity that is critical, the development team have to be in a space to get it resolved ASAP. If the login function failed, the system become unusable. That's high severity. So it's determined by the tester or QA, and severity levels are critical, a blocker, or you call it showstopper, major, medium, low. Critical, I can't log into my application. Critical, I cannot make transfer. Critical, I can't change my password. Imagine you forgot your password and the person is in an hospital or in a mall, you want to make payments and you forgot your password, you can't change it. And it's a weekend, you can't even go into the bank to say you want to, you are not even with your ATM card. So they are critical, what was it called, defects that requires that they are fixed immediately. They are being discovered, and that is why you see a lot of organizations, they have monitoring devices, they use them to monitor their applications. So, and there are always people. Nika, you can go to the next slide. There are a lot of people. That's why you have in the IT space, there are people that work on weekend shifts. What are they doing? They are monitoring activities. They are monitoring services. They want to ensure that all applications, all services are stable. They don't want a downtime that will impact customer experience. So that is typically it. So bug life cycle. Oh, so our bug, just the way we have the phases for software development, software testing, we also have for bug or defect life cycle. And what does this happen? That's the cycle is the journey of a defect from the moment you identify it until its closure. It represents the sequence of state that a defense passes through during its lifetime. The specific flow of defect life cycle may vary across organization. So, and it depends on some um, um, it depends on some items like the software testing process adopted. What process did you use? What software testing type did you adopt? The tools, what type of tool did you use? What workflow and policy defined within the team? So software testing process that you use, did you adopt as in was it a manual method? Did you use an automated method? Are you carrying out a functional test? Are you carrying out a performance test or security test? Whichever way. But the cycle looks the same for all these testing types. Now, when you see the arrow travels down from new. When you find a bug, I want to add user successfully. Immediately you see that you cannot add that user. Probably you put in your name, age, date of birth, everything, all the details of the user, you submit. Nothing happened, or maybe an error was flagged. New, you found that error, you found that defect. What do you do next? You assign. Why are you assigning it to? You're assigning it to the developer. At that stage, the status of the defect is what? Open. So that means it is open. Nobody has attended to it. Now there are two flows, as we can see. Open, you come down, you fix. Who does the fixing? The developer. When it is with the developer, we call it pending retest. So that time, the developer is working on it, and when the developer is done, he or she reassigns it back to the QA to retest. Now that is where this test comes in. After we have tested it again, we verify and we do what? We close. That's the first journey. If you have it, if we have the defect cycle smooth, verified, closed. After that is done, Sama, the hand is raised. Do you want to ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, please let me drop it on the
I want
chat.
to ask that. Okay.
Yes, just
Okay.
drop it on the chat. It will be the first question I'll take. So, after this is pending retest, you test again, you verify, and you close. You notice an arrow going to reopen after the pending retest. Now you test it, it still fails. That means the defect persists. You go and reopen it, and after you reopen it, it go back to what? Open journey. That means that cycle still needs to happen again. Open, the developer works on it, it is fixed. It comes back to pending retest, test, verify, close. So that's the first. Those are two journeys already. The first one is that the journey goes smoothly, new assign, open, fix, pending retest, test, verified, and close. The second journey, by venture, you test it, the issue resurfaces, it goes to reopen and go back to open. After then, we have another cycle. And what is this cycle? And what is this cycle again? Assign to open. Open, you duplicate. After you duplicate the issue, 1 minute, please. Okay, sorry. Okay, so the issue, we have assigned the new issue. It is opened. From open, you duplicate the issue. After duplicating the issue, you close it. It is closed. So when an issue is duplicated, the developer has to pick one and fix it and just move on because the issue was duplicated. So it will definitely they fix it and it's closed. So you have to close the two. But in a situation whereby it is open, you assign the issue to the developer is open and it was rejected. So that rejection normally have series of discussion. Because when you log something and developer rejects it, that is when you now go into the requirement document to go and read it detailed. You do a review, you review the documents properly to ensure that the reason why this was rejected is justified. So if that issue was rejected in agreement with the business analyst or the product owner, in agreement with the original business owner that requested for that solution, there should be like a mail communication to say, okay, this issue was found, but the developer mentioned that this is not a defect. So with the concurrence of the business analyst and the business owner, this defects can be closed. And that's when you can now say you've closed it. But you raised it, except the QA misinterpreted it to be a defect. So that is another journey. The last journey is that the defect was opened, it was deferred. So for fintechs or organization where they do agile process, they they already have a specified time for each of their sprints. So by venture, a defect is identified and it will take a larger time for it to be resolved. They have different sprints. They can actually defer it to the next sprint because their sprint, I understand, is 2 weeks. So what is being done is bring in the defect, we add it to the next features that we want to bring on board. And that's why you see next release here. So when defect is being fixed, it doesn't stop you from working, please. Because there are different ceremonies that are being done, different activities that is being done when testing is done. When we are testing, You are testing. As you are testing, you are executing your testing, you are right. So for bank, financial institutions, you write a lot of reports. So by the time you are fixing, the developer is fixing defects, we are also testing other things. You get, you are testing other things, you are writing your test cases, you are documenting your test summary reports, pending the time. But though, because for the agile process, what's it called? They have to work strictly with the week sets for each of their sprints. So the developer is expected to give a timeline for closure, as well as spaces where waterfall model is being used as well. You have to give a timeline for fixing those defects, and you revert back to the QA for them to retest. And remember, to each of the retests that is being done, a regression test is expected. And why are we introducing them? Why are we doing a regression test? We want to ensure that when the issue was being fixed by the developer, it has not introduced faults into the other ones that were working fine. So as we are doing our retest, we are carrying out our regression. And that's where you see after pending retest, test, verification, you are doing your regression test. After that is done, you confirmed that the application now works end to end without defects, then you can now close. So that's the bug life cycle journey. Nike, please, let's proceed. Okay. So okay. So pending recess, I think I've explained those when I was walking us through the diagram. We would have access to the slide, then we can read them again. So, sample bug. Okay, will you want to help me click on this or just wait? So this URL now will point us to a bug reports, and Jira. So many of the organization we use Jira to collaborate, to manage our defects, to assign projects to resources across team. The screen capturing tool like MonoSnap, light shots, they are used to capture defects. So that when you are sending it to the developer, once they play it, they can easily see where the issue happened. So they know where to go where to go to in their code to check. So, Nike, please go to the next slide before I want us to take this last. What do we have on the last slide? On the next slide. Okay, then let's go to the next slide. Okay, so we can go back because this would be like a form of a practical. So, Nike, please, let's click on a bug first. Okay, let me quickly go to the, okay, sorry. Okay, so a defect or bug title. This is staging authentication.
Biola, we can't hear you anymore.
Sorry. Sorry.
Okay.
So the defects of both sides is staging authentication, login fails with error or code error. So this, when you need to have a title for your defects. So, and you need to make it short and precise because you are writing a report. So no report is small. You have to be detailed at the same time, short and precise. So look at the description of this defect. When attempting to log in with valid credentials, the system fails to authenticate and display the generic message error code instead of granting access. Now, you see, there's something we all need to know about defects. I've mentioned it earlier. That error handling is our work, as in it's what a QA should be able to define correctly. You see, for instance, now we all have our mobile applications because that's the simplest application I like referencing when a presentation is done. Now, you have your mobile application, you log into the app, you're seeing error or code. Wow. You know, that error does not really explain to you where the problem is. So before the application even gets out to the end users, we as a QA, we have to sit down and we have to be able to tell the devs and say, I can't give my users error code because they will not have, that's not good user experience. The experience is bad. And because this work centers around satisfying our customers, if I see error occurred, I don't know where the error is coming from. I don't know what led to the error. I don't know what I might have imputed or selected that would have prompted this kind of error. So they said the generic error message is placed. So you don't accept generic error messages, except if you're in an organization where you have information security units. Those team, they tend to reshape and restructure error messages, especially the one that has to do with security. So, but for some that will go to the users, when you put in invalid username and password, they'll just tell you, is that they say invalid username or password. They don't want to be precise. Maybe it's the username that has issue or the password. It's now left for you as the user to look at it again to see which one did I even supplied incorrectly. So test, what are the steps for you to reproduce? Navigate to the test URL, enter a valid username, valid password in their respective fields. You click on the login button. So in this content and in this worksheet report we are looking at, the actual result was login failed and status error message. So expected result is that users should be successfully logged in, with valid credentials, and in case of an error, a descriptive message should guide the users. That is the work of us. We must be able to guide our users correctly. Now, evidence logs, attach relevant server application logs, screenshot of video, attach screenshot of the error page, environment, URL, insert text or staging URL, browser, blah, blah, blah. Now, when we are reporting this, we want a descriptive error message. Sometimes I suggest error messages with the support of our customer experience team. That's where I work because customer experience, they monitor customer activities, and we don't want to have a bad customer feedback. So as we are displaying messages to user, we have their inputs to guide us correctly. Now, when you are sending this out, you give them the evidence and you give a screenshot of the error page. In fact, sometimes you have to provide them the data. Okay, see the data I used, okay, for test purpose. So if you are testing it depends on the environment that you are testing. In our previous classes, tutors, they've told us about live and test and live environment. Test is where we carry out series of tests. You can play around on the test environment, but when it is prod, we call it production or live environments. On the live environments, we are working with real life data. There's nothing test happening in that space again. Whatever is happening there is real life, and we as QAs, we need to be careful and we need to get approval before we go ahead to say we want to carry out any test on test environment, because you could break anything you do on that application, even if the application has been stable and maybe say the application was about to even have an issue. So far you go there to go and carry out some kind of test without approval. It start misbehaving. They say it's on you. So live production environment is very delicate and we should not play around there. On test, we restructure error messages. We say this transaction is meant to go this way. This portal is meant to work this way. So when you are going back to the developer, you give, this is the URL you provided for me to test, and this is what I used. You can see the screenshot of the login page that was displayed with this URL you provided. This is the browser I used, in case you want to say maybe did not use the correct browser. Just to give evidences to let the developer know that these are errors. But trust me, all these the detailed reporting of defects you might not be able to 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 really give this in some solutions, especially if you work in an application whereby everything is urgent. Because there's some companies there's some organization that everything is urgent before you even wait. So there are simpler ways of getting the bugs around, and like someone said, you create a Teams group for you to quickly communicate, and after everything is now done, maybe you have to quickly go live. You know, this CVM mandate that come in that from Monday, customers you no longer. So by the time we send that circular across banks, or maybe some fintechs, so they start struggling to implement. You test on test environment, you deploy to live environment, you carry out what's it called, post deployment test. So everything we want to do is on test, and we want to be able to reproduce a detailed bug report as much as possible. So this is a detailed book, and after the class we can look at it if we've not been using that, because I know some companies, they just find defects and send it to the developer. Like when it's fixed, just come back, fix it, then we deploy. So if you want to start imbibing something like this, or I want to adopt something like this, it's a nice to have template. So Nike, please move to the next slide. So, you know, when we write test cases for login, there are series of features we need to look out for, series of scenarios. If you put in a blank, first thing first, you click on login button without putting username and password. If the system tells you incorrect username or password, you are fine. That has been correctly handled. You come back, you put in your username, you leave your password field blank. The system tells you password field cannot be blank. Yes, the developer has really worked correctly. So different scenarios for you to test over there. But eventually you now log in successfully, there are still some features that you need to look out for. Okay, when I log out of the system, how does the system behave? Did it take me back to the login page as expected? Then there's this back button that we normally have on the browser. If I click on that back button, will it still take me back to the application? You've logged out. You're not supposed to go in again except you log in. So these are the things that we look out for as a bug. Once you try that, you're able to log in, you resume a new section for you, it's a bug. So these are the things that we look out for when we are testing. Our defect report is very, very important. For organizations that use Jira, you assign to yourself, it triggers an email to you that you have tickets logged against you. You go in there to check it. After the developer has fixed it, you go back to Jira, you change the status. And after the status has been changed, open to close. Then you put a comment. Defect was closed. You can even put a screenshot there. You can attach it. So these are the things that we provide as QAs, detailed QAs, to run our tests and do defects properly while testing. So this is a template of a bug report, and what can we see there? We can see that there are headers, and the bug report says this is a bug report for cars.ng. The bug ID is there. Which module are you testing? For instance, that application is for onboarding customers. You can say onboarding module, defect name or description. You can put inability to add user, or system ability to add duplicate record for a user. So you name it like that. Step to reproduce, you just the way we had it the other time. Log in, log in successfully with valid credentials, click on the user onboarding module, fill in the what's it called? Fill in the required fields, click on submit button, expected result. System should add the user successfully with this message, user added successfully. If we get anything other than that, so actual results, we put the actual results. Maybe user could not be added. Maybe that was the error we had. User cannot be added. Then what's the expected result? User should be added successfully with a success message. Then the developer, we put the developer name and what's the type of issue. Is it an issue? Is it a defect? Because sometimes a deviation from what was documented, from what was in the documents, it's they are the defects. But sometimes when we are testing, we see outside what is being documented. Those are now issues. Now we can say, okay, this is either a defect or an issue. So what's the severity? I can't add the user. If I can't add the user, how will the user as in now, or maybe okay, say we want to things we do every day, we want to order on Jumia, I want to order for a product. We can't order successfully. So if we don't have what's it called? If we cannot order successfully, it's critical. So these are things that we put in our these are things that we put in our bug reports. We leave the status as open and we expect the developer to get back to us to fix the issue. So so they say severity critical. Then visual proof, that's our video or our screenshot, we put it there. The browser or the version of the browser, we put it there. The operating system, if you are using a Mac, if you're using a Windows, if you're using a Linux, you indicate there. The is it a web platform, is it a mobile, is it API, we put it there. Then the status open, then you put it in red. But eventually the issue has been fixed, you come back, you put it as closed, then you put your color as green. So as QAs, we need to also know how to use our legends, you know, open issue, fail issues, they are in red, pass, completed, they are in green, ongoing, they are in amber. These are additional things that we need to know as a QA. So this will also be shared after the class for us to go over again. Nika, can we go to the next page, slide, please? I think we have another link to see, right?
Okay, I would like us to just go through how to like create the issue on Jira. This is Jira.
Yeah.
This is Jira. That's the last thing on the
Okay.
slide.
Okay. Okay. So, Nikki, I think I will not be able to click. So that's
Okay,
my
I'll go ahead and do it.
okay, okay, okay. So, you have been profiled on Jira to every organization that makes use of Jira for team collaboration, project management. You have a profile on Jira. Your projects are logged in there. Activities that you are carrying out of the project or carrying out on the project, they are logged in there. As a developer, as a PM, as a product owner, as a business analyst, as a QA, we all have our issues logged in here. So you go to the project. So every project are onboarded on Jira. You go to that particular project. You want to log a defect. You come in there just the way you navigate around. And I believe in every organization we new staff are being onboarded. So these are part of the things we do when people come in, we onboard them. For peradventure, you don't use Jira in your own the company you were coming from, we onboard you, we show you how to use it. So yeah, so that you start logging your own task and defects as well on it. So you search for the project, you click on the create button, it brings you to this form page, you fill in. You see, the project's name has been auto-populated and the work type, it's a future. Then you put the summary of the defect you want to log in there, you select. So this is a bug, the work type.
Okay. All right, I think we could just use that. So that's bulk sample. So we could just transfer this into Jira. So I'll just be using this. All right, you can go ahead, Bella.
Okay. So transferring what we have there to Jira, for organizations that don't have Jira, they make use of that report template that we saw the other time. So Nikki has copied the description of the defects, and she has pasted it in the summary. Then we go ahead to description. We go ahead to description. We copy and paste the description of the defects in this description box. So that is it. And the assignee, you are the assignee. So you are the assignee, and because it is still your space, you can leave it as automatic. So it picks you as the assignee. So Nike, please let me scroll. So what's the
Okay.
priority of the defects? Yes. What's the priority of the defect? That was critical, but on Jira, we don't have critical. So we have to leave it as highest. We replace highest here. We take yes. So the parents, click on parents, okay. Okay, because there are some features on Jira that speaks to maybe developers, or because each organization has to tell the company at Lancia to help them customize it to their own taste. So by venture, if your own organization does not customize it to what which suits what a QA should do, you have to make do of what you have on it. So this parents pass, I don't think it's something we select in my own hand. So, Nike, I don't know if you normally select that. My own space, we don't work with this parents.
Okay.
So,
All
so
right. So
please
in
click.
my own organization, we
Okay,
have so many teams using the same Jira. So
okay,
the Scrum Master or the program manager would have mapped a parent projects that we are
project.
working on in the
Okay,
parent. So I can just select that particular one that
okay,
speaks to the current application we are
okay,
testing in the current sprint cycle.
okay, okay.
Okay.
So in our own case, we don't have for this section that we are having, we don't have a project to map, so we leave it as blank. So you put the due date when you think you will be completing the project. Putting it in mind that if you don't conclude before the due date, it will come in as an overdue task. So you have to put the dates that that you have estimated to be able to deliver. So, Nike, let's add 2 more days. Let's just select a date like you've done. Okay, it's fine. So let's select a label. Okay,
Mm.
okay. I think you have onboarded that. Okay. The new, yes,
Mm.
can't, okay.
Okay, I've created
Yes.
a new label.
Okay, label. Yeah. So you now selected same. So in my own space, we have different teams across. And like Nike mentioned too, they have different teams that make use of the application. So you select your team. Your team is already onboarded on Jira. So it makes you be able to select a team name. So you select it and put it there. And the system will pick it up and auto-populate it. You put the start dates and the sprint that you want to the sprint that you are currently in, you indicate it in there. Okay, then your story point estimates, you put it there. I think they have like they have a band set for their for story point, so you input it in there. Then the reporter who is reporting it, Quality Tech is reporting in our own case here, so it's you
Mm.
put it there. So you've put an attachment, we could put our screenshots, our screenshots. Yes, we attach them. We put them there. If we have any linked work item, we can also attach it. So that's why I said when you come into an organization and probably you don't use Jira before, we have to put it there. As in, we have to onboard the person. So
Okay. I think we need to go back to this description.
okay.
Populate the other things. Um,
Okay. Nikki, please, I need help. I told you I was
okay.
somewhere, so I think I need to go in now.
All
So maybe,
right. Okay.
yes, maybe you just help me finish the questions. You can help me attend. I would still come to the group chat.
All right. Okay.
Mm,
Thank you.
I'm so
Thank you.
sorry.
Please, can you give her a thumbs up in showing some reaction? Thank you, Viola. Today's session
Thank you,
was really
Nikki.
informative. Thank you.
Thank you, Nikki. Thank you, everyone. Please, I'll come back. Thanks.
All right. Okay. So I'm creating the tickets right now. So you can see it has been created. So you can now copy the ID and share it in that workspace that you have created with the development team and the product team. So that is that's about work life cycle. Let me just stop this recording now because it's already 2 hours. Just a minute. Oh.